this was a really fascinating sort of series of discussion for me. Terrific. So thank you very much. We take it terribly seriously. DAI is one of the implementing partners and implementing agency. It is a private for-profit employee-owned company that's been working for some 40-odd years in a whole variety of areas, and not very strong in the area which I come from, which is health. I want to quickly come back to that. And as a reflection of how seriously we take it, Lena, I'd like to thank you for working with Anne Hudok, who can't be here, who's currently in Kenya, actually selling to DFID this kind of analysis for why we should be doing some work for DFID in Kenya. So it is embedded in the way people are sort of dealing with this particular donor. But I'm glad that the conversation, I think Luis, if that's your name, sorry, we've not met before, you kind of brought us back to maybe we're being a bit donor-centric in our discussion, and then the discussion took off about, and I think that's the really interesting, I think Alex, you really highlighted that. That is one of the key challenges that I take away for the future. And I'm going to partly bring that back to why I think that's important, because the results-based value for money agenda, I think Stefan's going to have to be able to do the work that will tell his political masters that this is adding terrific value. You know, that is the world that we now face, and that pressure can only increase in my view. And I think the way that the discussion evolved and how that might be done is the way we have to persuade some of these people to understand that this is an added value, but it has been 10 years of investment, and this is what we've got from it. It's going to be the same for USAID. The administrator, Raj Shah, is heavily focused on results. This is not his natural, comfortable area at all. And it is more on the health side, which is sort of where I come from. And in the health side, I come from before joining DAI, and I do very little health now, thank goodness. It's so much more interesting to be doing this kind of work, quite frankly, and much more challenging. And I think, and I'll finish why I think it's important now in a changing world of development. The organisation I worked with before couldn't have been more narrowly focused on results. It was delivering vaccines, 250 million kids immunised, measuring those results and measuring the disease impact. And that was, you know, donors thought that was wonderful. It's just raised another $1 billion a year on that kind of success. What we failed abysmally to do was to talk to donors and get them to understand that that was all well and good, but unless we could build health services and health systems, that broader institution and accountable service delivery, we would in the long term fail. But we never convinced the partners that Gavi should be doing that. And I think we, in the health, those that champion health systems and health services more broadly, that's my sort of background, failed because we never provided the data that showed that in this more sophisticated way, building accountable services is just as important, can be measured, can show change, and leads to your longer term sustainability. So we failed there, and my observation now is the health is increasingly more narrowly focused, and I think that's a bad thing. And so I would be concerned that we don't seize that opportunity to do that. And I'd like to close by sort of just reflecting that I've come to believe that the development world is changing incredibly fast at the moment, faster than many of our institutions are able to adapt to deal with that. Certainly on the multilateral side that I have a lot of experience with, and to some extent the bilateral side. By that I mean is that the relative importance, and we heard this today, I think you said today, of development finance is relatively and absolutely in decline compared to how other economies are growing. And we kid ourselves if we think we really can affect the kind of change we'd like to do. So we're having to deal with new kinds of actors, new types of south-to-south collaboration, new kinds of partnerships. And I think this kind of work plays straight into that. And it's necessary that we feed that into the debate of what comes after the MDGs. I do hope it's not going to be another set of technocratic MDGs, which is what we have now. And I know that ODI, I was just reading Claire's work, and ODI here is doing some of the work on thinking what happens after the MDGs. And I think, how can we get some of this type of thinking into that analysis, the post-MDG agenda? What are the goals going to be? But Andy, thank you very much for having us here.
Thank you, Julian. Thanks very much for those closing comments. My last comment just is, I think there's a danger in this stuff also of believing our own publicity too much. I mean, just thinking of the Arab Spring, Egypt, and how experts in the development community and political analysis did not see it coming. And I mean, the context analysis is unbelievably important, but it doesn't mean that you have, simple predictive models for understanding the way factors play out on the ground. But many thanks to DAI and many thanks to all of you, and please do join us for the reception afterwards. And thanks particularly to Alina also for organising this event as well, and to DAI. Thanks.